stand on thousand people dwindles within a generation to a few hundred squatters living in the ruins. Roofs cave in, walls crumble, weeds push through mosaic floors. The grand buildings decay for 2 centuries. But the river keeps flowing, and rivers have a way of pulling people back. The Saxons who settle Britain after Rome leaves do not particularly like cities. They are farmers, village people. And the old Roman city terrifies them. One Saxon poet calls the ruins the work of giants. He cannot imagine how mere humans built such massive structures. To his people, it is not a place. It is a warning. So they do not move in. They build a mile west, outside the walls. They call it Londonwich, London trading town. This is where Covent Garden and the Strand stand today. If you've sat in the Royal Opera House, you have been sitting directly above Saxon London. By the early 700s, goods are flowing from everywhere. Amber from the Baltic, millstones from the Rhineland, pottery from France and Germany. Not Roman scale, but alive. Then the Vikings arrive. The first raids begin in the late 8th century. Then they escalate. In 842, Norse raiders sack Londonwich completely. In 851, they do it again. King Alfred the Great has had enough. In 886, he retakes London from the Danes. And then he does something clever. He abandons Londonwich entirely. He moves everyone back inside the old Roman walled city, the one the Saxons had called haunted, cursed, the work of giants. The walls that had protected Roman Londinium would now protect Saxon London. The city is renamed Lundenburg, London Fortress. The abandoned trading town earns a new name, Eldwick, the Old Settlement. That name survives today as Aldwych, the curved street in central London. History doesn't vanish here, it just goes underground and waits. October 14th, 1066. A field in Sussex. By nightfall, the King of England is dead. Harold Godwinson had only just won a battle in the north. A Norwegian invasion, repelled. He had barely caught his breath when the news came. William, Duke of Normandy, had landed on the south coast with 7,000 soldiers. Harold rushed his exhausted army south. He should have waited. He didn't. On Christmas Day, William is crowned King of England at Westminster Abbey. The Anglo-Saxon era is over. The Normans have arrived, and they are going to rebuild England in their own image, starting with London. William doesn't trust London. The city supported Harold after all, so he builds not one but 3 fortresses to keep the population in line. The largest becomes the Tower of London, the White Tower, 90 feet high, walls 12 feet thick in places. It is not built to inspire admiration. It is built to be visible from everywhere. A constant reminder dominating the skyline of who is in charge now. Medieval London grows up in the shadow of that tower. Cramped, chaotic, increasingly wealthy. By 1100, perhaps 15,000 people live here. Guilds control everything. Goldsmiths, fishmongers, drapers. They grow so powerful that even kings have to negotiate with them. In 1215, when the barons force King John to sign Magna Carta, London's support is what makes it stick. The city extracts its own concessions, the right to elect its own mayor, freedom from arbitrary taxation. London Bridge, rebuilt in stone between 1176 and 1209, becomes a city unto itself. Shops, houses, a chapel, a drawbridge. Heads of traitors displayed on spikes as warnings to those arriving by river. For 600 years, it is the only bridge across the Thames in London. In 1348, ships arrive at London's docks. They carry rats. On those rats, fleas. In those fleas, 1,000 houses gone, 87 churches. The old St. Paul's Cathedral reduced to rubble. Remarkably, perhaps only 6 people die in the fire itself, but 100,000 are left homeless. Christopher Wren sees an opportunity. He proposes a completely new city. Wide boulevards, classical architecture, open squares. It is an enlightened vision. It is almost completely rejected. Property rights are too complicated. Rebuilding is too urgent. Most streets follow their medieval patterns. But the city is rebuilt differently. Brick and stone instead of timber. And Wren does get to rebuild St. Paul's. The new dome takes 35 years to complete. It is still there. One of the few buildings to survive the Blitz, 3 centuries later. After the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, Britain is the dominant power on Earth. And London is where the money flows. Then comes the Industrial Revolution. And London transforms again. In 1801, London has just over 1 million people. By 1851, it's 2.5 million. By 1901, 6.5 million. The largest city in the world, by a significant distance. The Victorians build on a scale that is hard to comprehend. Trafalgar Square in the 1840s. The Houses of Parliament and Big Ben in the 1850s. The Crystal Palace in 1851. A massive structure of iron and glass in Hyde Park, showcasing British industrial power to 6 million visitors. It is a moment of supreme confidence. But Victorian London is also brutal. The rich live in Mayfair and Belgravia in extraordinary comfort. The poor are crammed into East End slums. Cholera outbreaks killed tens of thousands in the 1830s and 1840s. Entire neighborhoods wiped out by contaminated water. In 1854, a doctor named John Snow proves that cholera spreads through water, not air. Nobody believes him at first. Then the evidence becomes impossible to ignore. In 1858, the Thames becomes so polluted that Parliament has to shut down. They call it the Great Stink. Engineer Joseph without tearing itself apart? The answer is that it does tear itself apart, repeatedly. Roman Londinium torn down by Boudicca. Saxon Lundenwich abandoned by Alfred. Medieval London destroyed by plague and fire. Victorian slums swept away by development. The Blitz. Every version of this city has ended. And every time, someone stays. Someone rebuilds. Someone decides the location is still worth the trouble. The Romans chose it because the river was crossable. The Saxons returned to it because the walls were strong. The merchants stayed because the trade was good. The migrants came because the city had room. Or at least, room enough. That is what London is. Not a place that escaped disaster. A place that absorbed it. Messy, crowded, expensive, and complicated. Exactly as it has been for 2,000 years. It does not survive because history has been kind to it. It survives because it never stopped being worth rebuilding. Please follow for more videos like this.